Chapter 12. I'm hungry. Don't ask me why I'm hungry. Because I'm hungry, I'm hungry. Hungry, 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 hungry. Okay, chapter 12. I am telling you people, this is. I hope somebody listens. I hope somebody actually listens to this reading of this book because these things are happening. Yes, it's fiction. Yes, it's a depiction. Yes, it's an allegory. But the allegory is true, and things are happening in real life as I speak. People are making life decisions which are really, really bad life decisions, repeatedly making really bad decisions on a regular basis, and their lives are spiraling downward, and then that's not going to end well for them at all. I don't know how long it's going to last for everybody, but I'm seeing people make really stupid decisions. Backstabbing people, lying about people, getting evicted from where they're living, have been living for years and years, and they're starting to cycle over again. But this time, people know what they're doing. They know what they're about. They know that they're lying, backstabbing. You know, person that doesn't like to work, won't work, can't get them to work, can't force them to work, can't pay them to work, and bad situation. Another one, you know, guy just cannot make a good decision to save his life, and he'll just make no decision. Then he'll just wait until the hammer falls on him or something happens where he's, you know, has a bill due and it doesn't pay the bill because he can't do it. Bad things happen when that happens on a regular basis. So you get more charges on your cards and stuff. Anyway, I mean, just eventually you get evicted. Well, I don't want to be a part of that, but there's things you got to do to protect people. So that's why people get evicted from their houses, or you get divorced from husbands or wives. Because they're um, narcissistic, abusive people, and that's what people are when they're have an entitlement mentality combined with a narcissistic behavior. So, all right. On a throne of garbage. The crowd of children gathered around the front of the toy store. They parted for Mrs. Happy when she arrived. For many children, this was their first time to see her. The new owner of the toy store smiled warmly at the children. Her business at the sheriff's office had gone well, and seeing John Kramer on the Goliath Cobra Deluxe put an extra spring in her step as she walked back to her store. She looks just like my grandmother, one girl said in the crowd said. The other children murmured in agreement, as if Mrs. Happy looked like their grandmother too. She unlocked the door and opened it. She stepped inside quickly and carefully locked the door behind her. Just then Barry Smithville darted through the crowd on his bicycle. Out of my way, he said to the other children. Let the toy master through. Barry knocked rapidly on the front door. He smiled when he saw Mrs. Happy walking toward him. The door opened. Just the boy I want to see, Mrs. Happy said with a big smile. The other children pressed around the door, groaned as Barry went inside. The door shut in their faces. Your store looks really nice, Barry said. Come in, Mrs. Happy said. Shabbat shalom there, buddy. Come in, Mrs. Happy said. Since you're going to be the new secret toy master of this town, I'll give you the first look. The future toy master looked around. Overnight, the store had changed dramatically. The place was packed with toys. You could look and still look some more and not begin to see all the different things for sale. Wow, Barry said. Old Man Potter never had toys like this. It's all in advertising and display, my boy, Mrs. Happy said. Image, image, image. These are the key words. Those are the key words of the day. And I mean key. You have to make the best image if you want to sell toys. No one wants dull, boring toys. They want fun, fun, fun. And Goliath Toy Company is the giant of fun, and it's the same for people. What do you mean? Barry asked. You have to put the best smile on your face if you want to sell yourself, the woman said. I have big plans for you. The government has big plans for you, too. We don't want you to fail us in those plans. What plans? All sorts of things, Mrs. Happy replied, but the first change is a new smile. A new smile? Barry asked. He frowned. Tut tut, frowning will never do, the old woman said. People like people who smile. And by the way, how often do you brush your teeth? They look like they could use a good scrubbing with a steel wool pad. Oh my god. Not like mine, huh? Yeah, I don't need to listen to insults, Barry snarled. So you can just shove Hush, boy, Mrs. Happy said. She stared so hard into his eyes that he suddenly looked down. Now, you want to be popular, don't you? You want to be the leader, don't you? When you speak, you want the others to listen and obey you, don't you? Yeah, I suppose so, the big boy said. Then be quiet and listen to me, the old woman commanded. The key is advertising. The smile is the first advertisement others see. Now let's practice. If you want to be number one, here's how you do it. I'm sure you've seen the host of those game shows on television, haven't you? I want you to smile that game show smile. Now let's practice. The old woman talked to Barry for half an hour. When he finally left Happy Toy Store, he had a new, improved smile on his face and a bulging brown paper sack full of candy. Sweet Temptations, right? Probably. The Cobra Club was waiting outside the old wooden clubhouse. Barry didn't tell them much about his meeting with Mrs. Happy, but he did tell them about all the new toys inside. Seeing their impatient glances, Barry smiled his new, improved smile. He got on his bicycle, and the other boys did the same. Then he pedaled around the block. The Cobra Club rode together like a pack of dogs. I'm going to get first choice on the free toys, and it will probably be a new bicycle, Barry Smedlow told his gang as they pedaled past the front of the store. They looked at the pictures of the happy boy and girl and the glistening new toys behind the windows. Their mouths watered. What makes you so special? Doug Barnes demanded. Yeah, the other boys demanded. Mrs. Happy told me I had first choice, Barry replied. But I told her about the club, and you'll be right after me. So she even gave me some great candy. Have some. Barry pulled open the brown paper sack. He grabbed handfuls of Sweet Temptations and passed them around. He smiled his new, improved smile once again. Great candy, the boy said, stuffing it in. They looked at the toys for a long moment, then pedaled away as more children came by to take their places. Barry pedaled down the street. He passed out more candy as they rode, being careful to keep his balance. Soon the boys were riding out of town on Crofts Road. Barry smiled his new smile often and kept the candy flowing. When they came to the old dump road, Barry turned and crossed the bridge over the Sleepy Eye River. The other boys followed without a single complaint. The game plan was working as Mrs. Happy said it would. Earlier in the day, the club had refused to go out to the dump. No one really believed that Barry had seen boxes and boxes of toys just waiting to be picked up off the ground. All they had seen was a huge pile of trash. Barry was sure the toys were there, yet he knew he would need help to dig through the trash to the treasure inside. During his talk with Mrs. Happy that morning, Barry had mentioned the fact that his club wouldn't help him dig for the toys. The old woman seemed sympathetic. Though she would neither confirm nor deny the existence of the toys, she did promise to help Barry. She had told him all the club needed was a little bait on the hook. Then, using the mysterious black window, she had shown Barry a picture of the dump and where to find the bait. The old woman assured Barry that a good smile and the free candy would get them to the dump, and once they found the bait, the boys would be convinced to dig for more toys. Barry passed out more candy and then shot down the old dump road. Soon the plan would be completed. Everything was going along just like the strange old woman had said. The president of the Cobra Club smiled his new improved smile, this time without even trying. While the Cobra Club was busy at the dump, Susan and John were sitting down under a large oak tree on their lunch break. They had finished the Kimball's lawn in record time. Susan was amazed at how hard and fast John could work when he set his mind to it. All morning long she had thought about what she had seen in the mirror on her Spirit Flyer. John stood up and stretched. Then he smiled. Since we're a little ahead of schedule, why don't we go out to the dump? I knew you had to be working hard for some reason, Susan said with disgust. She dropped her apple core into her lunch bag. I've been thinking that maybe we should go back out to the dump too, but not to get toys. I want to try something. I want to see what will happen if I look at that big pit using the mirror. Maybe it will show me something in a deeper way. I don't know about that, John said slowly. That's because you don't have any of the instruments on your bicycle, Susan said. In fact, you might as well not even have a Spirit Flyer at all the way you've neglected it. It's like you've traded in for that creepy Goliath bike. I tried to pump up the tires, John said bitterly, but the stupid thing wouldn't work. That's because you must not trust it deep down, Susan said simply. Otherwise you wouldn't be mad. I've read in the Book of the Kings that you can work with the king's magic or against it, which is really tragic. You haven't put on any of the instruments like the mirror or the horn or generator, and you know you should. You were told to do it. No wonder your Spirit Flyer won't work. You aren't treating it right. Oh, go blow your nose, John grunted. You think you know everything from a book. I'm going to the dump. Are you coming? Yes, Susan said, but I'm not going to dig in any trash. Will you help me carry some toys home if I find them? When I find them, John said. Maybe, Susan said, but first you have to find them. Barry sat in a broken rocking chair on top of a mound of trash. He held a 5-foot piece of iron pipe in his hand like a staff. Down below him, the members of the Cobra Club sweated in the noonday sun as they moved piece after piece of junk from the pile. The president of the Cobra Club looked like a young prince on a throne of garbage. He felt a surge of power as he looked out over his domain, the town dump. He stood up shakily and held the iron pipe up over his head. I claim all valuables and toys found for the Cobra Club, he shouted in a loud voice. Come down and help us, Doug Barnes yelled back. I'm coming, Barry said. He had stopped digging some time ago. The only reason the other boys were digging at all was because of a catcher's mitt they had found soon after they had gotten there. Barry had actually found the mitt. It was the bait Mrs. Happy had shown him in the back window. Once again, the old woman had been right. The baseball mitt had done the trick. They had all worked hard for an hour. Both Doug and Alvin, also known as Nose, had cut their hands on pieces of broken glass, but not seriously. They still kept digging through the trash, clearing a path as they went. As Barry climbed carefully down through the garbage, he saw someone far away coming down the old dump road. To your stations, he shouted. In an instant, the Cobra Club scrambled up over the pile of trash, following their leader. They had already hidden 2 times in the last hour when people in pickup trucks had unloaded their garbage. The boys were grateful for the interruption in the work. They waited at the top of the trash pile just out of sight. They couldn't have been more happy when they saw Susan and John Kramer ride past the gate into the dump. Barry began whispering excitedly as the Kramer children rode straight for the pile. John was the first one to notice that a path had been cleared into the big pile of trash. As he got closer, he saw footprints in the dirt. Someone's been digging here, John said. I see all kinds of footprints. It's probably just Mr. Breaker, Susan said. She was looking at the cracked mirror on her Spirit Flyer, trying to understand how the curious old mirror might be made to work. But before she could do anything, she heard the sound of a blowing horn. The horn is blowing again, she said excitedly. We better stop and not horns in the head again, John said. I'm beginning to think that you may be going. Before he could finish, a shriek and a shout split the air. Strike, a chorus of voices yelled. John looked up just in time to see the sky filled with flying trash. Look out, he cried and ran toward Susan. A broken bottle smashed on top of the trash not 2 feet from where he had stood. Empty cans and other garbage rained down on the 2 fleeing children. When they were sure they were out of throwing range, Susan and John stopped and turned around. Barry and the other members of the Cobra Club stood on top of the mountain of trash, laughing and hooting. You Kramers, get out of here, Barry called out. We've claimed this as official Cobra Club territory, and you're not wanted. This is public property, John yelled back, trying not to let the frustration in his voice show. You can't claim anything. You've been warned, Barry said. Leave or else. And when you go, leave my bicycle. I own that bike you're riding, and you know it. Barry bent down and picked up another broken bottle. He hurled it with all his might. The bottle sailed through the air and crashed on the figured they'd do that picture. Barry standing on the pile of trash. Where is it? That one. Crashed on the ground 20 feet in front of Susan and John. Let's just go, Susan said. I'm not afraid of him or his stupid club, John said. I hear the horn again, Susan said. What horn? You're hearing and seeing things both. That is it, Susan said with a smile. The mirror must work in a deeper way, just like another bottle crashed 10 feet away. The Cobra Club was yelling as they stormed down the mountain of garbage, throwing things as they charged. A rock or piece of metal bounced and hit John in the shin. Ouch, he said. I'm leaving, Susan called. She was already on her Spirit Flyer. John picked up a rock and threw it at Barry. Then he grabbed the Goliath Cobra Deluxe and took out after Susan. Susan was waiting for him at the gate. There's too many, she said as John rode up beside her. I guess you're right, John replied. I'd still like to get off a few shots of my own. The Cobra Club had stopped halfway down the pile and were arming themselves. Barry held up a long piece of pipe. We warned you to stay out of Cobra Club territory, he yelled, shaking the pipe. Come on, somebody could get hurt, Susan told John. You couldn't get close with them up high like that. They have too much of an advantage, and what would it prove anyway? John stared back at the Cobra Club. Barry and the others were yelling for them to come back and fight. When Susan pedaled through the gates, John reluctantly followed. His ears burned as hoots and jeers followed them all the way down the old dump road. Okay, there it is. So, next chapter is the warning horn, chapter 13. But I'm not going to read it now, because I am hungry and I want to go to sleep. So good night. See if anybody will said anything on here. live chat. Zapton. True Faction. Yeah. Good night, guys. I sure am sorry I missed the expo. That really sucked. Goofball here left 2 hours before. Well, he left the day of the expo to go that way, and he didn't buy. All right. Good night. Bye bye.